Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Off the Grid with Chris G. And today is my second show. I got a great, amazing, fabulous, flamboyant guest, Eli Molina. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming and doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Been a crazy last year. Starting this podcast. We got our mimosas here.
Drinks on deck.
Got his Red Bulls. He's not hungover
At all.
Yeah, he said he hardly drank yesterday night. He only had a few beers and a couple shots. For me, I would be wasted.
Yeah.
Can we do a quick yas real quick?
Yes.
Yes. I love it. Okay. So my friend Eli here, we're new friends, and I'm excited to have him. He does a very important, amazing job, and we're going to get into that later. And but first I wanted to ask Eli, where did you grow up?
So I'm born and raised in Dallas, and I grew up for most of my life in Dallas, and Oak Cliff is where my parents lived. I don't remember much of it, but I remember early on we moved into Richardson, and that's kind of where I grew up, went to elementary, and then stayed because I currently live there.
So Oak Cliff.
Yes.
That's an interesting part of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're at.
Oh, is it? Is it getting better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I used to do some landscaping down there at an old cemetery right there with my wife's father. He used to take care of an old cemetery down there. They got a lot of World War II. They got a lot of Civil War people buried in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I used to see prostitutes get picked up around there. Used to see all kinds of trash get dumped over there. But yeah, tell me about growing up over there. You went to school in Oak Cliff?
I honestly don't remember. I didn't go to school in Oak Cliff. Okay. That's where they lived. And then I went to school in Richardson.
That's when you were more conscious and
yes.
could remember your childhood
for
and stuff
sure.
like that. Richardson. Okay. Richardson's a suburb of Dallas.
It is.
And tell me about your cultural background.
So both of my parents are from Mexico. They're from a town in Guerrero. So it's very third world country. No roads, no electricity. Back when they used to take us, obviously right now it's a little bit more advanced, but it's very rural.
So did you used to go visit that when you were a child?
Yeah, my parents used to take us every year growing up so that we would kind of be more appreciative of what we have in life. And it's definitely like a whole different perspective on life and kind of what you value, I feel like.
Right. Do you remember how long those road trips were?
I mean, we would stay there for a week, but you would have to fly into Mexico City, and then from Mexico City, we would have to drive probably about 8 hours to get to where they're from.
You'd fly?
Into Mexico City.
Yeah. And then 8 hours south?
I have no idea.
West, you don't know?
No idea.
Have you been, when's the last time you were there?
Probably when I was 13.
So, okay. 13. So before 2000?
Yeah.
Or a little bit after 2000?
Yeah. Around
1999?
Yeah.
How old are you? Or do you want to say?
We don't want to say.
We don't want to say that. I have a feeling we might be the same age, but that's amazing. What do you remember from some of the trips going back? You would see your grandparents?
Yeah, my grandparents used to live there. Honestly, I remember my most fond memory is sleeping on those beds with the straw. They'd be woven in.
Really?
And every morning, around 4:30 in the morning, you'd hear a rooster.
Yeah.
I'd be terrified because you could see scorpions walking around on the ground.
Yeah.
One time my mom got bit by a scorpion and you had to drive an hour to get to a hospital.
Ugh. That sounds...
It's intense, but it's fun. You feel the culture. People love seeing us whenever we went. So it was very welcoming.
Yeah. Great. That's amazing. What kind of food would you eat down there?
Oh man, authentic Mexican food. You're talking about carne guisada. You're talking about mole, menudo, pozole, all the good stuff.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I remember when I moved out of Chicago the first time. When I moved out of Chicago and I moved to Oklahoma, that was a big difference for me.
Yeah.
Being out in the rural country and everything's quiet out in the country until nighttime.
Yeah.
And when you can hear all the nature outside, and it just seems louder than the city noise that I moved from, because I was used to the city noise.
Yeah.
I'm used to hearing sirens every 10 minutes, trains going by because we live near a train, things like that. And then when I was living in Oklahoma, about 4 or 5 in the morning, I would hear a rooster from some other person down the street, and I would be like, what the F? Where did I move to? I can't sleep. I'm like, take me back to the city, please.
It's crazy. Like, I remember, like, when the sun went down, that was it. Like, you'd have to carry a flashlight and go wherever you went. And there's no road, so it's, like, all rocks and, like, dirt, basically. And you'd be walking up the street. Here comes a cow. Here comes a donkey. Yeah. Like, literally on the same path that you're on.
Wow. Is there a lot of... What's the economy like over there? They just make a lot of things and try to sell them, or everything is shared? Where we're from,
I honestly don't know what they do, and I don't know how they make a living. Yeah. I'm imagining like crops, but right now it's super dangerous. It's been taken over by like gangs and
cartels and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've heard recently, my mom was telling me that they'll just go into a house and like take it over.
Yeah. I hear about things about Mexico. It's a little sketchy down there. You kind of got to just go to the tourist towns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Oak Cliff to Richardson, Dallas kid, born and raised. Tell me a little bit about the challenges of being Mexican in a Mexican family and being gay.
So, I grew up, Spanish is my first language, so English is my second.
Right.
I didn't learn English until I went probably to elementary school. And it's very interesting because you go into school predominantly white at my school. I was the only Mexican there.
Right.
Or the only really person of color. And I don't think that at that point you know that you're different. Right. Because you just see everybody and everybody looks the same.
Right.
And I was very fortunate to grow up. I feel like there was a really good impact because my family were well known in the community that I was living in. So they owned restaurants that all my friends from school would go to and eat. So I became popular because of the chips and the hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very easy for me transitioning into school and making friends. But I think as I grew older, I was kind of adapting all the cultures of like America. And then I found like I'm very passionate about my culture and my background. And so I kind of had to get in sync into what I believe in and what I like and kind of having more Hispanic friends. And so it was more of making an effort to do that.
Yeah. It didn't come natural.
No, I think it wasn't until college that I became more like Mexican, I feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we don't really learn about that. We just kind of at a young age, for me growing up in Chicago, it's a little different. I'm a white kid, but growing up in the inner city, I was, in my classroom of 35 to 40, I might have been one of 3 white kids in the whole class. I grew up in a melting pot. So I grew up around a lot of different cultures, a lot of different nationalities, Asian, Russian, Polish, black people, Mexican people, a lot of Puerto Ricans up in Chicago where I'm at, a lot of Muslims, Pakistani people. So it was just like, we didn't really, you learn about different people's culture from being a kid. I had tons of friends and I would go spend a night at my friend's house, and then I would see how they live and how some people didn't have furniture, they slept on the floor. Some people had furniture and they had plastic all over the couches and things like that. It's just very unique in how people lived. But it's kind of shocking for me to hear that you kind of grew up closer to Dallas City and the school was still predominantly white, huh?
Well, in Richardson it was.
In Richardson,
and there's like 2 areas of Richardson. Right. So we lived more on the side of I don't know if you ever heard of Richardson Square Mall, but it was like super close to there. And that's where my parents' business was. So it was predominantly white in that area.
Right.
But kind of going back to what you were talking about before about being gay and growing up in that culture.
Yeah.
I think it's a struggle for anybody in the LGBTQ community growing up. Like after I've like processed and gone through the struggle of being a gay person, a gay Latino growing up in this culture, I feel like LGBTQ community really is oppressed by society from like the moment that you're born, right? Because from the moment you're born, there's these gender norms that you have to follow. And I feel like you're kind of put in a place where it's like you're not set up for success. You're set up for failure. So let's say you're growing up and somebody tells you, oh, you're going to have a girlfriend whenever you grow up, right? Or you're going to like these girls, or I want you to be like your dad who's going to be like into cows or whatnot. And so as a little kid, you don't really process that. But then whenever you start having, your feelings of who you are as an identity, I feel like that clashes, right? And so that's where the dilemma goes. I feel like society really puts a lot of pressure on what each gender should be and what their roles are. So I feel like as an LGBTQI person, then it's a struggle because then you lose your identity at that point, right? Okay. People are telling you, you should do this, you should be this is who you are.
Right.
And then when you find out you're not that person, it's like, who am I? And is what I'm doing in this world wrong? Yeah. Is who I like wrong? Is the things that I like to do wrong because everyone's telling me that that's not what I should be, right?
Right.
And I think that same society puts this on you, and then all of a sudden you have to have like this coming out thing where you have to tell people like, hey, I'm gay, or this is what I like, or this is what I like doing. Yeah. When it's like, who else does that, right?
Did you feel like you had to tell people that?
I feel like people think that they deserve for you to tell them that.
Oh, okay.
Whereas like, you don't have to tell me you're straight. Yeah. Like, you don't show up and you don't have to tell me, hey, I like girls, or like, hey, I'm married to a woman. Right. Whereas I feel like people feel pressure to want to know what's your sexual orientation.
Absolutely. I understand where you're coming from with that. I wanted to ask you this. Is your family very religious?
We grew up very religious. For me, it was a big struggle. My mom has been the most empowering person in my life, I feel like, and she was very encouraging.
Catholic,
strict Catholics. I went and got my baptism, my confirmation. I went through the whole process. We would go to Sunday school every Sunday. So that's another part, right? That religion tells you shouldn't be this way.
I feel like a lot of that is religion driven, especially from Christian and the Catholic side. Yeah. Because that stuff is stated in the Bible. But that's why I wanted to get to that point of asking you about the religious part. Yeah. So with the religious part, and you would go to church, when did you stop going to church as much?
I still go to church. It's just not the Catholic church. It like bases off of that. I mean, I believe in a higher being and that there's like good and evil, right? And that you're supposed to do the right thing.
Absolutely. I
just don't conform really to what people want a religion to be.
Yeah, I think religion has a good, like the principles and the morals
for sure
of the teaching of religion.
In every religion, I feel like.
Every religion across the board.
Yeah.
Teaches, it's a book of how to be a good, decent human being, how to give, how to be charitable and not harm people, things like that. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from with
like I believe in God. God loves me.
Yeah, I believe in I mean, coming from where I come from in my upbringing, to not believe that there's a higher power working towards you. You know what I mean? I feel like I have guardian angels. I don't know. Do you ever think about guardian angels?
I feel like there's someone protecting me. I think God's protecting me. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a particular person, and that's because when I was adopted as a child, and the woman who adopted me, my mother, she passed away, a year after she adopted me. So I feel like she's my guardian angel. And then I also feel like God put her family, in her family, she has a cousin. That's my Aunt Sherry, I call her. She's been kind of looking out for me throughout every step of the way of my life. I don't live near her anymore. She recently retired from Chicago and went up to Minnesota and started a whole juice bar business.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Most people retire and move to Florida or somewhere warm. She went to Minnesota and started working even harder.
Yeah. I mean, she's a hustler.
Yeah, she's a hustler for sure, and I love her very much. And but yeah, it's important to recognize that there's a higher power. So tell me a little bit about what was your first job?
So my parents, ever since I can remember, they've owned restaurants, and so my first job, I would say I was a dishwasher probably.
Nice.
My dad would take me into the kitchen probably whenever I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I would wash dishes like in those like heavy duty dishwashers. So you'd like stack them, put it in, open the door, your shirt's all wet, you're like drenched in sweat, and that was my first job.
Good times.
And then I upgraded, and then I became a busboy. So I was like coming around with like chips and hot sauce and like going to the tables. Then I became a bartender. That didn't work out for me.
Why not?
I just didn't like making drinks for other people.
Yeah. It's a little too much pressure.
Yeah, I just
didn't have a little anxiety about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like
it's a lot of pressure, and then people are picky. Yeah.
People are picky. They'll send it back.
Yeah.
And then you're like, damn, I'm...
Like, if I had a margarita machine, like, and just poured that, I'd be cool with that. But, like, then when people start asking you, can you make this? Can you make that? No, I can't.
Yeah. So the progression in the restaurant, we went from dishwasher to busboy, chip boy, and then we went to try to be a bartender.
Well, I was a waiter before I was a bartender.
But then you went back to being a waiter after bartender?
Yes.
Or was that the end of just working in the food?
I managed the restaurant at some point.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the restaurants.
For how long?
I would say out of college for about like a year and a half or a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Out of college until you found what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And during college, you worked at the restaurant?
Yes.
Yeah. And what would you put 40 hours in or?
No, I would get there like at 11 and then I would leave like at 9. I don't know how many hours is that.
Were you the typical son of the family restaurant worker? I show up whenever you want.
A little bit. Yeah, that's annoying, right?
I knew a couple because I've spent a lot of time in restaurants myself.
Yeah.
In fact, my dad owned a restaurant in Chicago when I was growing up. I would wake up. It was a breakfast and lunch type of diner.
Okay.
And because where I grew up at the time, it's not anymore. The neighborhood I grew up had a lot of industrial factories. Yeah. Right. And now those factories are all gone. They're all condos or studio apartments. It's like, where did all the jobs go? Mm-hmm. But back then, he would have to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning and put me in the car, take me down to the restaurant, put me in a booth. I would sleep till probably 9 or 8 in the morning. Wake up. As I wake up and poke my head up out of the booth, there's tons of people just eating, drinking coffee, workers getting ready to go start their shift at the factories and stuff like that.
I mean, that's life. That's how my mom was. Like, we would spend all our time there. And then when my sister was born, like, it shifted a little bit. Like, I got to stay home and take care of her. Yeah. But, I mean, what else do? You own the business. You have to be there all the time. Yeah. I remember whenever I was going to school, my dad would get, because he was a chef, and so he would get up at 4 a.m. to go start prepping. Yeah. And then he would get home at, like, 11. So he was gone whenever, or I was sleeping whenever he left, and then I was sleeping whenever he came back.
Yeah, it's a tough business. I respect restaurant owners. I tried to do it myself briefly when I was 22. It worked great. We knew how to serve food. We knew how to make food. We just didn't know how to keep the books. Yeah. We didn't know how to pay the sales taxes and keep track of all that.
And it'll catch up to you.
Yeah, we lasted a year, and it was just me and my cousin. And it just lasted a year.
So where's the food, dude? You should have brought me like a little sampler plates or something.
It was like it was called Taste of Chicago. If you ever been to Chicago, Chicago's got their own like fast food type of stuff, like Italian beefs, cheesesteaks, hot dogs. We have our own. We're big on hot dogs, Polish sausage, Italian sausage, things like that. Yeah. So that's what we were serving there, and things. Gyros with some tzatziki sauce. Love that.
All I know is that Chicago has like some really good shopping and museums.
Yeah. Michigan Ave.
Mm-hmm. The Green Mile? Or the
Magnificent Mile.
Yeah.
That's great.
And they have a really good pancake place, Wildberry or something like that. You never heard of it?
There's so many different spots up there. Yeah. When's the last time you were in Chicago?
In Chicago? Probably like 4 years ago.
Yeah. And you went during the summer?
I went in the summer and then I went in the winter.
Yeah.
And that was horrible.
You had to get the experience of both.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I'm from Texas, dude. It's hot here. And then going over there, I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's definitely, I recommend anybody who wants to visit Chicago, go during the summer, go in July, August, June. It starts warming up.
Yeah.
It's definitely 100 days of summer. That's all they get.
It's fun, though.
And then it's a blizzard.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Boys Town?
Boys Town? Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of it.
They used to have like this big like Halloween parade.
Yeah.
And then like shut down.
Yeah, is that over Boys Town? Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've been through there. I've been all over the city. Is that by Wrigleyville?
Around there.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, over by Milwaukee Avenue, maybe. So where did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to the University of North Texas.
Okay, Denton.
Yeah, in Denton. Yeah, now it's huge. But I studied psychology, and then I minored in counseling, Spanish, and English.
Nice. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I was. I mean, I lived in so many Spanish neighborhoods and worked with along so many Spanish people that I should know Spanish. I mean, I know words, but it's not proper.
Yeah.
I know bad things.
You only know the curse words?
Yeah, and I mean, I know how to say landscaping terms and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with landscapers and stuff like that. But these guys that I were working with, they came from Central America and Mexico themselves. Yeah. So it's not like they knew how to speak the language properly or knew how to teach it to somebody properly themselves. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And but I respect those guys. They worked hard and were here for trying to better their families and stuff like that. But I really wish I knew how to speak Spanish fluently because
I'm so grateful that I feel like I'm grateful that my parents don't speak very good English. Yeah. Because I feel like it would have got lost. The language.
The Spanish?
Yeah.
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 Well, I want to ask you about being bilingual. When you think, and I ask this to a lot of other people, when you think to yourself in your head, are you thinking in Spanish or are you thinking in English?
In English. I dream in English. I think in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one Spanish guy that I worked with before. He says, when I think in Spanish.
Yeah.
But he spoke English good, really good. And he's been in Texas for, I think he was born here, actually. Yeah. His family's in Mexico. But that's interesting. Sometimes.
But I like to keep up. So I only watch Spanish language TV. And so that's like my way of like remembering. Because I feel like sometimes I'm like, I mean, I use my Spanish all the time, but it's like, I get tripped up on words or like I can't remember this. Can you lose it? I feel like you can.
Really? Yeah. Interesting.
It's like a muscle, right? You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's right. I mean, English is hard. I can barely speak English myself. So, was college a struggle for you? Did you get in and out in 4 years or?
I actually went to college whenever I was 17. I graduated early from high school.
Prodigy.
I'm telling you. And then I'm an introvert at heart, and so I was a nerd. Like I love school, I love studying, I loved reading. Yeah. So it was pretty easy for me, college, and I didn't party in college, so that was like, interesting.
Tell me about the first time you actually like partied. You didn't party in college. Did you party in high school?
I partied at home with my family.
Oh, the family. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because Mexican families, they like to party together.
Yeah. My parents were big on like throwing events, throwing these massive parties like with bands and
they
like
cater it themselves.
Everything. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Because I bet you they know a lot of people from owning the restaurant.
Yeah.
Did your restaurant used to have bands, live music and stuff too?
One of them did turn into like a salsa night. That's what I was bartending for at that time. So they would like do a little switch.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, every Sunday was like a party, like a quinceañera or a wedding or somebody's doing something.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I miss that. Yeah, I wish I had a big family like that. That would be amazing.
And I have a small family, so I only have a brother and a sister, an older brother and a younger sister, and then my mom and my dad. But other than that, like, it's pretty small.
So moving on from college and your first job working with your family in the restaurant, with the fajita money, some fajita money. Mm-hmm. Moving on from that, you landed what was your first job after college that was not with the family?
So my first job ever, I mean, because I don't really consider my jobs with my parents jobs because I was like there, right? I got born into it, I guess. My first actual job, I became a forensic interviewer.
Okay. Forensic interviewer.
Yes.
That's an interesting term.
Yes.
And is that where you are now still?
Yeah, so I supervise the forensic interview team, which I feel like a lot of people don't know, or on social media or anything like that. They think like I'm a personal trainer online or do something like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't really talk about it outside of work unless I'm doing like an event for work. But yes, now I supervise a forensic interview team. So we interview victims of violent crimes.
Okay. And when you say victims, are they particular victims? Are they certain age?
Yeah, we typically work from kids starting at 2 years old, and then we go all the way up to 17-year-olds, adults, and then any adult with developmental delays as well.
Okay. And you've been doing that for how long?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole life. They took my good years.
They took your good years.
Yeah.
And you're loving it. And I think that's a very important job. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your day-to-day and what you do without naming names and locations and things like that?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, typically the clients that we see, it's because the majority of the cases that we deal with are physical and sexual abuse.
Okay.
So anytime that there's a report made where somebody has been sexually abused, physically abused with an injury, then that requires a forensic interview. And so it's a beginning point of an investigation for an agency, whether it be Child Protective Services or law enforcement. And so as an interviewer, you go in and you're basically eliciting information from that client, and then from that interview itself, then that agency corroborates, gets DNA, gets warrants, makes arrests, or continues on with an investigation.
Okay. Very interesting. And it's very important to point out that since you are bilingual and we're in Texas,
yes.
In Texas we have a large population of Latinos.
Yes.
And you work alongside a lot of being able to communicate in their language what happened to them and give them the proper help and resources.
Yeah.
And that's great.
I'm so passionate about that. I mean, I feel like just imagine being in a country where you don't know the language, right?
Right.
And you have a fear of deportation. You have a fear of law enforcement because you think that they're going to break apart your family or whatever. So I really take it upon myself to fight for that specific population because I feel like sometimes they fall through the cracks.
Yeah, that's very important.
And if I'm there and I can advocate anything that's like for LGBTQI, obviously with everyone in general, right?
Yeah.
But LGBTQ community, Spanish-speaking community, I feel like any oppressed community, I'm like, I want to do something for you to help you out.
Absolutely. And do you see some of the clients that you work with, are you seeing more that are coming across the border recently, or are they clients that been in the U.S. and in Texas since they were born?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the county that I work for, it's an affluent county, and so we get far and few in between. But I think the people that do come, I mean, it can be anybody from Guatemala, it can be somebody from El Salvador, somebody that lives here. So it just ranges.
I mean, it's so different. Central American
I feel like I've interviewed a lot from Guatemala.
Yeah. I mean, I've met when I was working in landscaping, most of those guys were from Guatemala.
Yeah.
And El Salvador and Ecuador, like Central America.
For sure.
I think maybe one was like from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
The rest were from Central America.
For sure.
And yeah, that's great. And I got a lot of respect for that. And I'm great that there's people like you in the country doing that for the clients, for the children, and for the ones who don't have voices and resources. And you're going in there, you're making it comfortable, and you're not being biased. You're not asking what leading questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a lot that goes into the style of how you operate.
Yeah, I mean, it's an art form. I'm like
Yeah, it's
super
an art
passionate
form.
about it. I didn't know that I was even going to be that passionate about it.
Right.
But I mean, you know, we call it a science and an art form. There's a script that you kind of follow in the beginning when you're talking to somebody, and then you kind of gauge that person
To break the ice.
Yeah, and whatever that person needs, you're going to maneuver that situation wherever it goes. So I like the aspect of not knowing what you're getting into before you get into it.
So with that being said, when you, after the interview, do you sometimes have to go to trial and to courts and things like that?
Yeah, a big part of my role is testifying in court.
Wow.
And so I'll have to kind of review my forensic, look over my notes, and then get on the stand and get grilled left and right. Like, I think that in the county that I work for, they heavily rely on interviewers sometimes. And I can be on the stand anywhere from an hour to the longest I feel like it's been like 8 hours on the stand. Or no, not 8 hours. I'm sorry, like 5 to 6 hours.
Right. And then multiple days? Do you have to go back multiple
Sometimes,
days? Sometimes,
yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Because court proceedings are so, like, you never know what you're going to get. Or they'll tell you one thing and then they switch it up, so.
Yeah. And do you collaborate with other counties and cities and...
Yeah, I'm a super social person, so I love being able to connect with other people that do the same thing, just to kind of like piggyback off of their ideas. And I like to have a good network of support when it comes to that. So I feel like I've built myself to that.
And do you ever go outside of the state, or is this all just Texas?
It's just Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, if we have a case where the jurisdiction has happened somewhere else in a different state, because we'll do courtesies. So let's say an offense occurred in a different state and the family currently lives in Texas, in the city that we're near, we'll conduct that interview. And then there's a possibility we'll have to fly out and testify somewhere else.
Okay. That's amazing work. And I can only imagine some of the things you hear, which leads me to wonder, how do you keep your head on your shoulders with some of the horrific stories that you probably listen to on a day in, day out basis? Like, what do you do? What does Eli do for his wellness, for his mental state?
I mean, it's tough. You do hear a lot of tough stuff, and you have to really be able to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're not good to start over and get on the right track for the next day, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's working out and traveling. Like, if I know that I'm going to go somewhere and like this is a vacation where I'm going to get time off, like I'm like, okay, here's my end goal, right?
So yeah, you set up things in the future, and you just know mentally, hey, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, I'm going to be here. Yeah. And I'm going to be able to relax and cut loose, and then refresh and re-energize, and then get back to work the following week.
For sure.
And knock it out of the park.
But honestly, I love it so much that I don't feel like it affects me that bad. Okay. Like, I feel like some people may have challenges with it.
Yeah.
But I love doing it. Like, I get like excited to go to work and do it. So
that's amazing. That's why you're the type of person for that job. Yeah. Because people who probably struggle with it and just can't do it and fall into depression and don't know how to work with their mental and their wellness, they probably aren't right for that job. Yeah. Right. I mean, it just like somebody who's a nurse. Like, for me, I couldn't really be a nurse or a doctor.
Oh, I'd pass out.
I don't like blood. Yeah. And I couldn't cut into somebody or put something in somebody. I couldn't do that. So I'm not the right person for that job.
For sure.
You are the right person for your job. Yeah. And I want to thank you for the work that you do for helping the community of Texas and your county.
Thank you.
And it's just amazing work. I think that needed to be showcased, because you don't talk about it much. Mm-hmm. And I follow your IG pages, and you're not out there blasting it in people's face every day with posts of this and that and the other. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you would never know. Yeah. You would never know unless you met Eli in person. Yeah. So that's great. Are you going to stick with it? Yeah. So now you've moved. You're actually outside of the room now, and you're more of in a supervisor role over people who do what you did. Yes. Right. Yes. And
I still do interviews periodically. It's not as many as I used to do, but it definitely has removed me from the room.
Okay. And as a supervisor, how are you enjoying that?
You know, I struggled with it in the beginning because I love being in the room and like being
It's a little hands off.
Yeah, no, and I like being hands on, but it's kind of like a win-win, right? Because now I'm training people to do that same thing, people that are passionate about doing it, and so it's nice to know like I'm like building these people up to do the same thing and like reaching more people than I can do as a single person, right?
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And that's important. We do need people to get in jobs such as yours, go through the daily grind, go through it, learn the ropes, learn how to master the craft, the art and the science. And then you need to be able to transition into a more support role and bring other people up under you, because we need more of that.
Yeah.
So are you working with are there other people who are also bilingual?
Yes, we have bilingual staff, and it's great. I mean, but even the people that I work with now, they're amazing. Like they're super passionate about it, and it's like very encouraging to know like how passionate other people are about it as well.
Yeah, that makes you feel good about your work and stuff.
Yeah,
that makes you wake up every day and want to go do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a bad day. Like I'm having a bad day sometimes, and you get depressed over like the dumbest thing, right? Because we're living in America and we have like all these things going for us, and then all of a sudden your nail breaks and you're like upset about it. And then you go into a room and you talk to somebody and you're like,
some real problems.
This is like what life is about, right? Like this is like real stuff going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
And then I'm like, whenever I think about it, I'm like, my problems are nothing compared to anything else.
Excuse me. I know what you mean by that, because growing up where I grew up, and I had some dysfunction in my family too, and just rough. We didn't have much money, and I worked for everything I got now. And I have, growing up, I had nothing to lose, and now I have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I forget when I have problems with work or with just the daily grind and being a husband, being a homeowner, being a father.
Which congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Number 2 on the way. I'll forget that life could be so much worse.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And sometimes I have to tell my wife this. I'm like, babe, I gotta go do what I'm used to doing. I gotta go out and be part of the world to remind me how good I got it.
Yep.
I gotta go out and just rough it out, rough it up,
Go to downtown Dallas.
Go to downtown Dallas and just see other parts of the cities and stuff. And that's why I like to travel when I'm with work. I don't go to like glamorous places, but I do a lot of building inspections for public housing. Yeah. So I do see some
There's nothing wrong with a little glamour.
Rough areas. I see some rough areas. The only thing is I don't get jobs in glamour. They sent me to Miami this year, but I didn't have much time to really explore. I went to Wynwood. Oh, okay. Which is
That's very artistic.
That area.
Yeah,
I love that area. Yeah. It's growing up, but I didn't get to go to South Beach or anything like that. I've been to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I've been to Iowa. I mean, I went to El Paso. I went to El Paso recently, and I had a really good time there. It was a good mental break for me.
Yeah. And the food.
The food was good. I didn't go to many of the great spots that they probably have there, but I did go to check out the culture, seeing a lot of murals down there.
Yeah.
And just see a different lifestyle, because it is a different lifestyle down there. It's right by the border. It's a different scenery. They got a lot of what do you call it? Adobe style homes.
Yeah.
It's more of a desert type of landscape. So for me, I couldn't live in a desert type landscape. I got to have some greenery about me. But it's good to have a break in life and see different parts of the country. And then you come back and then you realize you have it so good.
For sure.
And then you can help other people.
Yeah.
So that's great. I love what you do for work. Forensic interviewer, now a forensic interviewer supervisor.
Yes, sir.
And so with that, with your wellness, you're working out, You love to travel. I'm on your IG page. What's your IG page?
It's IGELITE Fitness.
That's right.
IG Elite Fitness.
And with your Instagram page,
Yeah.
what are you showcasing with that? Your travel, your fashion?
I do a little bit of, I think I'm very new to the social media thing.
Yeah.
I think I've had it for like about 3 months. And so I kind of really wanted to motivate people. Like people tell me all the time, like, what do you do for this? Or like, what do you do for skincare? Or what do you do for, where do you go shopping at? Where do you travel? Like, what are your tips? So I kind of feel like it's like a personal blog. It was geared to like fitness in the beginning, but I feel like now I'm expanding it to whatever is going on in my life.
Don't box yourself in.
No.
You're a man of multiple talents.
Multiple talents.
And a lot of wisdom.
You think so?
That can be shared.
Yeah.
I mean, for what you're into.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all are into our own things, and we all have knowledge that we can share. So tell me about some of your travel. What's one of, how often do you like to travel, first off?
Pre-COVID, I planned a trip every month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And post-COVID, I mean, I get it in where I can.
Where you can.
Yeah. With the regulations, I'm like waiting for the CDC to not make you quarantine because I love going out of the country, and it just makes it hard.
Yeah.
With work.
Yeah. Where do you want to go out of the country next?
I want to plan a trip to Europe. So I want to go to like Spain. I want to go to Greece and do kind of like all the things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to go to Greece and Italy so bad.
Yes.
Those are the first two. Yes. Those are the first two places.
Can we get another yes? Yes.
I really want to go to Greece, and I really want to go to Rome because I love history.
Yeah.
And those are the two areas and civilizations that I really enjoy listening and hearing about, because this country, just humanity in general, has learned so much from the Greeks and the Romans.
And the Mayans.
And
dude.
the Mayans too. I mean, maybe you can teach us a little bit about Mayan history. I need to dig into some Mayan history.
You need to get into it.
Yeah. But we learned so much, just how to grid a city, how to drain storm water, how to bring water from aqueducts to us, how to make bathhouses, how hygiene was started there, even though I can only imagine what the hygiene was back then.
Probably not good.
But it was better than it was before them.
Yeah.
And then you had the Persian Empire. They were magnificent. And I just love that. I love the history, and I want to go visit some of these places where you can see old roads and old buildings from hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
For sure.
Right? Like in America, the oldest building is just a couple, maybe 150 years old.
Yeah, like you got to culture yourself, man.
Yeah, we got to get out.
I've met people that, and it's different. And I feel like that's why I'm so grateful to be like a different ethnicity, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to learn so much about like a different culture. Like I remember my parents would take us to Mexico City, and take us to the pyramids, like Chichen Itza, and they would take us to like the moon pyramid and the sun pyramid. And back then you'd be able to climb all the way to the top of the pyramids that they like constructed back in the day. And it's like, you're on this land and you can see everything in the sky. Obviously now like they've blocked it off because they're trying to preserve it. But like, it's moments like that you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And
then now I live in a subdivision.
And now I'm in Richardson, Texas.
And now you're in a little one bedroom unit.
A little one bedroom apartment.
So tell me about a story. What was the last trip you were on? Tell us about your last trip.
My last trip, it was for my birthday. I went on a birthday tour. And I went to Puerto Vallarta with my family and my cousin and some other people. And then I flew to Miami with my best friend.
Yeah. But good friends.
Yeah. Because I had a quarantine after I came back from Mexico. So I'm like, I can either quarantine at home or I can go to Miami. And I quarantined in Miami.
Quarantine in Miami, which is non-existent.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's Florida.
It's weird. Like, I'd walk in and try to put my mask on, and they're like, you don't need that.
Nah.
I'm like, I don't?
Nah. Florida's been open since the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, we live in Texas,
They were closed, but Miami's crazy. So you had a blast in Miami?
Yeah, I had a really good time.
Was that your first time to Miami?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you like better? Do you like the East Coast better or the West Coast better?
I like both.
Yeah?
It's so different.
Where on the West Coast do you go to when you go? Are you LA or are you San Francisco?
I'm very LA.
LA?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like something about SoCal pulls me there. I love Southern California. LA, not so much. I mean, it's kind of dirty. Hollywood, I love.
Yeah.
I love Malibu. I love Torrance. I love Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach. I went to Venice Beach. Although I heard recently it's not that great right now.
No, I hear there's a lot of like homelessness
tent
and
cities
like people
going on.
Yeah. I remember when I was like 16 and going to LA and like I thought it was like the hot shit, right?
Yeah.
And then you show up to your restaurant and you're like at the SDK and like the geisha house was popular back then. And then like the shopping, Paris Hilton was huge and she had opened like a Kitson store. And so I was like, I have to go to the Kitson store and like buy a shirt and like do all the things. And then even seeing like the Sinai hospital where like everybody has like the babies and stuff or when they get like exhaustion and then they go and like hang out there. So Melrose,
Beverly Hills,
Sunset Avenue.
Oh yeah, good times. Yeah, I need to get out there soon.
I don't want to go. Like it's shut down, right?
No, Marjan, the girl that I interviewed, she's from over there. She's from Orange County and stuff.
Like I listened to her podcast. It was very interesting.
Yeah, she said some parts like Venice Beach. I loved Venice Beach. Great for people watching. She said it's kind of shut down a little bit, but they're opening back up and the beaches are kind of open. I think that's what she said. And I enjoyed San Diego too. Did you ever go to San Diego? San Diego?
No, I didn't. I've only been to San Francisco, LA, and I think that's it.
I love San Francisco when I went. Very expensive. Very expensive.
It's very much like an Austin vibe, right? Or no?
I didn't really get that.
No?
Austin?
I feel like they're super laid back.
Anything,
no?
Austin's cool. It's growing crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's growing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. San Francisco, I went to Sausalito. That's the big, rich, affluent town that's on the beach. Went to the Muir Woods, the big. I had an anxiety attack on the way out there because I was on a tour bus that was going, on all those cliff driving things, and you're like up on a tour bus looking over the cliff, like hoping to God that the brakes work. Is just I get anxiety on that stuff. Yeah. And then went out to Alcatraz, rode the trolleys. Great food, man. We had some really good food there. Yeah. I would like to go there and see a nice concert or something over there and check it out more.
That'd be cool.
Spend some more time. Tell me about a bad travel story. What was just something that you thought was going to be amazing that didn't live up to it and then just had a bad experience?
Probably when I went to Turks and Caicos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in college, I think, and a group of my friends were like, hey, let's go to Turks and Caicos. And if I'm going out of the country, I like to stay like all-inclusive resorts probably because I don't want to have to like worry about food and drinks and all that, right? And so we went. I mean, the water is beautiful. Like Turks and Caicos is amazing. But I went with a group of friends that wanted to like go grocery shopping and cook. And I'm like, I'm on vacation, dude. Like, I don't want to wash dishes, cook, and like worry about that.
Oh, your friends wanted to do that?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so I'm not that kind of person. Yeah. Like, I just want to relax.
You worked in a restaurant. You're not trying to do dishes and cook right now. Yeah.
Go and cook and clean when I'm on vacation. So that was the only part that like stunk about it. But other than that, it was fine.
Okay. There's no other bad experiences on trips?
No.
People who were rude, or you just the vibe wasn't right, but you're a pretty outgoing, free-spirited person. So if a trip, the vibes weren't right in the beginning, you're gonna change the vibes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think probably the most difficult trip was going to Paris, and I wanted to get like the Parisian experience, right? Wow. And I wanted to go to a restaurant where they only spoke French because I thought that was gonna be like the coolest thing.
Did you learn any French ahead of time?
No, I didn't. And like, it was the worst thing. Like, you really feel like I can't say anything. I can't order food. I can't order a beverage. Yeah. Like, people are looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like looking around at other people's plates and like,
I want that.
And I became that person that's like, I want that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can relate to other people, right?
Yeah.
So that was hard.
Yeah, they don't like
It was a culture shock.
I heard they don't like Americans over there that don't try to speak their language.
Luckily, I stayed in a resort that was like a Malia property. And so at my resort, everybody spoke Spanish, which was nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. That helps. I'm sure there's a lot of Spanish is up there with English, so it's accepted everywhere in the world.
Everywhere.
Except English is not accepted in France.
I will tell you one of my favorite vacations, though, was in New York.
New York?
Yes, my parents took us for the first time. It was my first time going to New York, and my parents are very like animated, and they like to do stuff. So like it was, I probably was like, I think like 20 or maybe 21, and my parents were like, "We're gonna go out tonight," and I was like, "Okay, where are we gonna go?" So they get this limo, right? Yeah. And the limo shows up, and then they take us to the 40 Club, I think is what it was. Jay-Z's Club.
Jay-Z's Club? Okay.
And so my parents are on like the guest list to like go into this club. Yeah. And I'm like oblivious to like what's going on, right? And so we get seated and we get like a table and we're like chilling. And then the bottle service girls comes out, and like my dad is holding like a bottle of Patron, and my mom has like a big old bottle of vodka, and they're like doing this thing right at the club. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm at Jay-Z's Club with bottle service. And my parents are like throwing it up in the air. Like it was like cool to see, you know, like to experience.
So New York, what else did you see? You were in Manhattan?
So we went for a soccer game. My parents are really big into soccer. Right. And so it was in New Jersey, I think, the soccer game.
Okay.
And so I think we took a train from, is it a train that you take from New York?
Subway.
A subway.
Did you go under the Hudson?
Yeah. So we took that and went to a game.
I took that train.
Which was a whole different cultural experience, right? Because you're in New York and you're doing all these like fancy things, and then you go to a Mexico game and everybody's like in their jerseys throwing beers everywhere and like doing the craziness.
It's more like Texas.
Yeah.
That's great. How long were you in New York for that trip?
I think it was like a week we were there.
Have you been back since?
Yeah, a couple times since.
I spent a week in New Jersey and New York for work. Thank you for the work they sent me over there. I got to go check out the Bronx, went to a Yankees game, checked out a little bit of Manhattan. I really wanted to get over to Brooklyn, didn't have time.
Yeah.
Checked out New Jersey.
Brooklyn is a whole vibe now.
I heard. I don't know. I mean, New York is just so big. You have to go there multiple times for like a couple weeks just to really get it, take it all in. I was over on the Hoboken, New Jersey, Hoboken side. Went from New Jersey into Manhattan. Got lost in the subway system because I didn't realize how far deep underground you go. From the New Jersey, I'm not sure what the train station. It's a historical Union Station there. It's not Union Station, but it's a historical subway station
in New York.
It's on the New Jersey side, Hoboken. Okay. That's where you start. That might have been where you got off to go to the soccer game.
Yeah, but
it was a big giant hall, and it kind of replicated over New York's Union Station. But anyway, I took the subway from underneath there, went under the ground. Didn't realize how far deep I went underground, and I was trying to go to Times Square, but I ended up down towards the World Trade Center area, which is South Manhattan. Yeah, completely different. Yeah. Still great. There's a lot of good areas over there to go look at. Yeah, and as I got off the subway onto the platform, it was so hot down there. It was like 130 degrees down there. I was dripping sweat.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
I start going up these platforms. I'm like, where is the surface? How do I get out of the subway?
Nightmare.
I went up 2 flights of stairs and got on different platforms where you can catch different subways. Did you know that there's different levels?
No idea.
So I'm going up and I keep going up. I go up the 3rd one. I'm like, fuck, I can't get out of here. And I ask one of the security guards, I'm like, how do I get up to the street level? And they're like, yeah, you got to go back that way and go up some escalators. I still had to keep going up. And finally I made it to the surface, and I got to see, the World Trade Center memorials. They're just waterfalls now. Yeah. And I think they built a brand new building. I forgot what it's called. Shame on me. But that was great. I got to explore it, seeing a bunch of murals, seeing a bunch of culture. Got a slice of pizza that wasn't that great. I'll be honest with you.
That was my biggest disappointment. I had a hot dog, and I'm like, I thought this was gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it's just the pizza wasn't that great. The best pizza I had was actually in New Jersey. They had the better slice of pizza. I had
what pizza is better, in New Jersey or Chicago? I mean,
well, it's it's a different style in Chicago. Everybody thinks the deep dish is the Chicago style pizza, but really, what we like.
What is that one restaurant?
Well, they have a couple. It's Giordano's,
yes, that one,
or Lou Malinati's, which is my personal favorite. But the Chicago style pizza is a thin crust. We call it pub style. It's a thin crust, and it's in square pieces. That's what people there that live there, that's what they order as a regular pizza.
Okay.
The deep dish Chicago style pizza is a novelty. That's what tourists go and eat, right?
Give me a deep dish.
It's still
pizza.
good though. Yeah. It's still good. I'm not just
Give me
saying.
thin crust, deep dish, regular pan.
The New Jersey, I had some of the greatest food over in New Jersey though. There's a huge Cuban population there.
Oh really?
Huge Colombian population too. And I went to some of the restaurants there, had some of the authentic food, street food that they serve. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that, tell us about some fashion. You're into a lot of fashion. What are you wearing right now? What you got going on there?
I like to mix and match, right? The highs and the lows. My jacket is actually Zara. My pants are Topshop, and so is my shirt. Okay. And then my boots are Givenchy.
Nice. Yeah. Where do you like to shop in Dallas?
Where do I like to shop in Dallas? I mean,
what are some of your favorite go-to stores?
My favorite all-time stores are probably Neiman Marcus, because it's like one-stop shop, right? Like you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Or I typically go to the Galleria, because I like their Gucci store at the Galleria. And then other than that, I do a lot of online shopping.
Online?
Yeah.
Like just off the website?
Yeah.
A particular designer's website?
Yeah. I don't like to be around a lot of people when I shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I'm pretty good. Like, people struggle with sizes online. I already know where to go and how it's going to fit. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Because I do struggle with, I'll buy shirts and like everything else except pants online, because I just got to try the pants on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I know they make it easy for you now to just send them back.
Yeah.
Like you could buy 5 pairs of pants, and if 2 don't fit you, just send them back. It's easy,
sure.
Right? Yeah. I guess I just got to get used to that, right? Yeah. You just got to get used to it. You're in that old person mindset of how you used to shop.
Okay.
And you got to go back to how you...
2021,
and we got to just buy it all, try it on. What doesn't fit, send it back. Yeah, if you don't like it, send it back. So with fashion, I mean, what are some of your favorite brands? Like,
I mean,
how did you get into fashion first off?
Oh, dude, my mom, like, totally. I remember, like, my mom was a shopaholic. I remember, like, she would take me to the department stores and, like, make me sit in the chair while she tried everything on. And I'm like, this lady is lit. Like, she's trying on everything.
She knows how to spend some money, huh?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was never a time that she was not well put together. And like, she always looked like good. And even my dad, like he was very much into like Ralph Lauren growing up. Nice. So like, he was like decked out. Like my dad is the kind of like, you always see him in slacks with like a belt and like a polo and like dress shoes. Even if he's like back in the kitchen, he's like has his belt on and like has all the things. So they were very well put together growing up. So I feel like that's kind of where they created a monster, right?
Yeah, they created a monster.
They did.
So moving on from that, what are some of your favorite brands right now currently?
I mean, I love my all-time favorites are probably like Balmain, Givenchy, and then for like average cost ASOS.
Average cost.
Yeah,
like
very affordable,
like something I could afford.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, or Zara is good too. Yeah, but ASOS, like you can find anything, and I like very unique. Like I like to express myself through my clothing, it's like if it's weird or like people aren't wearing it, like I want to wear it.
Yeah. I kind of always been like that too. Like I like to take chances, even though I'm not as flamboyant as you. I like
What does flamboyant mean?
that just means like how you dress, like you're flashy. Like, like you don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
Like you're wearing like the shirt. Like just recently I seen one of your shirts. It was kind of like a little mesh see-through little thing with a black little bow tie thing.
Oh, yes.
You know that one?
Yeah.
It's flamboyant. Like what you got on, flashy.
Yeah.
Flashy. We don't care.
No, I mean, you have one life to live. And I feel like, your fashion or how you dress is like an expression of yourself. And so I feel like, you go to work and you have your daily job, but like, this is my time to like be myself and like express myself and like be who you want to be through your clothes.
Yeah, I've always been one to appreciate that. And sometimes I find it hard to spend money on certain things like that. It's just like, I rather buy something for the kid or for the wife or just, stack my cheese, stack my cheddar. Do I need the Jordans? Do I need this? You know what I mean? But I do like to when I step out of the house, and especially if I know I'm going to be around Eli, I got to step it up a notch.
But you don't even have to spend a lot of money to look good, right? Don't. I mean, you can make anything look good.
That's right.
If you have it, you wear it with confidence, right? It's not even about the brand or like how much it costs. It's more of like how you carry yourself in it.
Right. So you like to mix and match.
Yeah.
You don't really you like to mix and match brands.
Yeah.
Those are some of your favorite brands right now. Have you been to fashion shows? Do you get into going to see different designer shows or things like that? I'm not really in that world.
Yeah.
I don't really know many people in that world. Are you kind of dabbling in that world?
Yeah, I mean, I get invited to places. I get invited to fashion shows. And I have a lot of friends that like are very creative. And so, which, by the way, I have a gift for you.
Okay.
And I forgot about it until now.
Oh.
Talking about creative people, right?
Thank you. Nice.
I think it was a nice touch. Everybody has to have like their little signature.
I notice you're a big gift giver.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Did you get that from your parents as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like making people feel special and like nothing says you like that?
Off the Grid with Chris G.
Bow, bow, bow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And then he's got, look at that. Nice.
The headphones and the beard. Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much.
No, yeah, I like throwing parties. I like because that's a whole nother world too, right? Throwing parties, having like creative design, making people feel special. Like even if it's at your apartment, right? You can make people feel like they're in another world. So I just love doing stuff like that.
Do you want to get into maybe designing clothes?
Yeah, for sure. So actually that cup was made by @DallasDesignBabe on Instagram. And that's my sister.
I need to follow.
Yeah, no, definitely go follow for anything like personalized and gifts like that @DallasDesignBabe. But we're working collaboratively. I want to come out with a line of sportswear at Leisure Wear. Okay. And so we're working together to build that up for hopefully next year.
And you're working with your sister on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you workshopping names?
I'm trying to get the design aspect or the design aesthetic of it first, and then kind of going from there and see like what comes.
The name might come from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, through the process, through the work.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we're moving on from, you're very fashionable, love to travel. You got it curated on your IG page.
Yeah.
You got it stamped and sealed on there. So you said you're working towards the fashion collaboration with your sister. What are some other things that you're working towards, some other things that you want to accomplish within, let's say, the next year to 3 years as we're wrapping this up?
Yeah, that's a hard question, right? I mean, I definitely want to get more into that aspect of building the other side outside of my work, but I definitely want to build my career. I mean, my career that I'm working on now, there's so much opportunity for growth, and I feel like I can do so much more ultimately I would love to create a program and where I do some type of training and just travel and do statewide or, countrywide training on interviewing or anything.
Like a little
with the
consulting
dynamics.
type of work?
Yeah, I would
Some
love to do
training
something
type
like
work?
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, I would love to create a brand. I would love to create clothes, and I definitely like to inspire people with working out as well. So I would love to have a gym and open one of those up one day,
Yeah.
and kind of motivate people. Anything that like gets people to do something positive with their life, I feel like I'm for.
Right. And to occupy time positively. You go and work out. I found it. When you go and work out, what's your routine? Are you using weights? Are you doing like CrossFit type stuff? What's your workout style?
I do a lot of weight training. I love weight training. It depends if I'm going to like on a trip or I'm like gearing up to do something big, then I'll do a lot of cardio and like it's more like high intensity training. But for the majority of the part, I like lifting heavy.
You like lifting heavy?
Yeah.
And are you doing is stretching important?
I mean, you have
in
to
your
stretch.
routine?
Yeah,
You're
for
stretching
sure.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to stretch every day.
Before and after. How much water are you drinking every day?
Oh man, I drink a ton of water every day. I mean, I drink more than a gallon a day.
Nice. You gotta drink your water.
You gotta
Get
stay
your water in
hydrated.
there. Are you taking any supplements? Are you taking vitamins?
I mean, I just do a protein powder, but I mainly just base it off of food.
Yeah.
I like to get all my stuff from food.
So with the food, with the diet, what
Yeah.
are you doing as far as what are you avoiding? What are you taking in?
I mean, it depends where I'm at right now. I'm trying to gain about 15 pounds. So right now it's like bulking season, right? So I'm watching what I'm eating at the same time. So I'm incorporating more brown rice. I'm incorporating more of like those starchy carbs. Now, if I want to lose weight, then that's all about the diet. You can go to the gym and work out every single day, but if you're not doing the work at home with what you're putting in your mouth, then that defeats the purpose, right?
So how do you lose weight?
You lose weight by eating healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like balanced.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to necessarily just eliminate all carbs, right? Some carbs are good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can have quinoa, which is like a great source of like carbohydrates. You can have avocado, stuff like that. But I mean, my biggest, like when people tell me I want to lose weight fast and like get on this thing, I say cut out the starchy carbs and do a protein and do veggies, protein veggies.
Protein veggies.
Yeah.
No starchy carbs.
Chicken, fish.
Do you drink soda?
No.
Do you drink sweet tea?
No, I don't drink any other liquid other than water and the occasional alcohol.
Water and some mimosas.
The mimosas.
Little splash of orange juice.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Growing up, I never was really into like sweets or sodas or anything like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Well, that's great. Is there anything else you want to get into? You want to talk about something? Are you a big reader? Do you read books still?
No, I don't read a lot of books.
Aside from college?
No, whenever I get off of work, literally my like comfort zone is like just silence.
And I just one more question about your family seems like they're very open and supportive.
Uh-huh.
Have they always been like that with you?
You know what? That's a funny story. My dad is very conservative.
Right.
My mom is very, pro me, my biggest fan.
Yeah.
With my dad in the beginning, it was like probably one of the most like gut wrenching things where I felt like I was going to disappoint my dad by like coming out to him. Right. So my coming out story, right? I was engaged at the time. I was getting ready to get married, and I had been with this person for a very long time. And so I was like, I feel like I have my family and then I have this person that I love. And so why can't I share this with my family? I thought it would be the greatest idea to come out to my dad on Christmas Day. And so I show up because I wanted him to be a part of, the celebration and all these things. And so I decided that was the best opportunity, right? So I show up to the house on Christmas Day, and I'm like, Dad, I got to talk to you. I got to tell you something. Yeah. And by this point, I had already come out to my mom. And so my mom's sitting there, my dad's sitting there, and I'm like, my heart's racing, like I'm sweating. I'm like, how am I gonna do this?
Do you think that maybe did he have any clue?
I mean, who doesn't, right? Like, you live with your kids, you know,
He had to have known
some inclination, but I feel like for parents, it's like until you say it, it's not happening,
and
right?
especially for a Mexican man.
For sure. And that's the last thing that they probably want to hear, like on real talk, right? Like in the Hispanic culture, you don't want that for your kids.
Well, that's why I wanted
like it's a disease or like something.
Yeah, that's
like
that's why I made it a point to ask about, because of your cultural background.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the lifestyle now, how supportive were they?
So I told my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gay, I'm engaged, and I'm going to get married next year.
Okay.
And my future husband's outside.
Okay.
And my dad stares at me, and he like puts his head down, and I'm like, oh shit. I was like, oh, this is going left.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I'm going to have to think about this. He was like,
yeah.
And as a kid, you want your parents to be like, oh, I love you so much. You can be whoever you want to be, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, I just screwed up Christmas. And then my mom looks at him, and she goes, my dad has his head down, right? And I'm like staring straight at him. And my mom's like, you know what? She was like, this is your son.
Yeah.
And he's telling you something. Yeah. And if you don't see him as your son, or if you don't choose to love him from this moment on, you can tell me right now, and you can go ahead and pack your bags and get out of here.
Yeah.
And my dad looks at her and was like, okay, I'll accept it. And I was like, cool. And then from that moment on, like, he was super accepting. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's been ever since supportive. And
super supportive. My entire family has been super supportive.
That's great. That's great. I mean, you gotta, he probably had to think about it for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to take in, right?
It's a lot to take in that moment, and to just, be uppity. And, sometimes I think about my son and some of the things that would happen if things like that would have happened. And I think about it a lot, and I will always love my son no matter what. And I always support him no matter what. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is.
And I think, because we talk about like, I'll support them no matter what. I think every parent should support the kid no matter what. No matter what it is, right?
Yeah, no matter what.
But I think as a parent, you probably think of like, it's a nasty world out there, right? It's like a world where people like to maybe bully or like hate or do whatever. So I think it's reasonable for a parent to feel that way for the reason of wanting to be protective.
Well, yeah,
of
because
their kid, right?
they grew up in a time where things weren't as progressive. Mm-hmm. Things are more conservative. As you said, he was more of a conservative person. Yeah. And, it takes time to break through some of those barriers and to break through that old way of thinking. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the old way of traditional thinking like that. Yeah. And it just takes time. And I think over time, he's probably has grown way more accepting of everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that experience, to me, it's like, if I would have known that that's how he was going to be, I would have come out like years before then. So I feel like, you have to own who you are. And it doesn't work out that way for a lot of people, right? No, like people don't have a supportive system like that. But I feel like as, a working professional, Hispanic, gay ally, because I'm a gay person, I feel like it's kind of my role to encourage other people to be who they are, right? Yeah. And no matter who you are, you're beautiful, and there's going to be somebody that loves you and supports you. Absolutely. And if they don't, I will. I'll support you and love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eli. That's great. That's an amazing story. That is, I think we covered a lot of things. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I appreciate you having me on.
We can definitely have a part 2. Yeah. After you get some more travel in.
Yeah, do a couple things. Do a little collab.
Do a collab.
Do a little segment on like
maybe we could do some funny stuff.
Yeah, like play games, do something.
Do you like comedy? Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to a comedy show?
No, but I need to go to yours.
Yeah, I need to start focusing more on that. Yeah, I'm trying to focus more on this, and then work's been pulling me all over the place. Yada yada yada. But I want to thank Eli for joining me today on my second show, Off the Grid with Chris G. Thank you for my gift.
You have to do a little sound.
I want to thank Eli for coming to do Off the Grid with Chris G.
Yeah.
And be on the lookout, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor Podcasts. I'm going to try to get up on Apple Podcasts soon.
Okay.
And support the page, Chris G _comedy. On YouTube, it's Gindo Media, Gindo Media on YouTube. And if you want to email the show, it's GINDOENT@gmail.com. GindoENT@gmail.com. And your Instagram
My
page?
Instagram is IG Elite Fitness. IGELITE Fitness.
Yes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Thank you very much. Let's get a little cheers and one more yas.
Yes.